Thank you very much. Thank you. We're the old neighbors.
Welcome back to Spectrum.
West Burnside.
The old neighbors for some reason.
Well, good evening, everyone.
Was the first.
To our distinguished alumni, their family and friends, special guests, Spectrum staff, and everybody, welcome. This is actually the second time that we've done this event, and we've had to delay this for almost 3 years because of you know what. It's been a real challenge, but finally we made it and we're here. So that's great. My name is Phil Watt, and I am your MC for the evening. And you're probably wondering how I got this role. I was coerced into it, I'm not sure. But maybe it's because I was a founding member of the Alumni Association in 214, or maybe it's because I spent a life sentence here teaching English at Spectrum, or maybe it's because I'm a grad of Mount View 1966. Well, this is how the evening's going to work. I'll introduce a guest, a special guest, who in turn will introduce the honoree. So you'll kind of have to wait a little bit until you hear from the honoree. Now, during the evening also, we're going to have a couple of draws for the prizes and door prizes. And don't forget, there's a 50-50 draw at the very end of the evening. And also, we have the old Wavers here who will be entertaining us for a couple of songs at the interlude. So at this time, I'd really like to present the present principal of Spectrum Community School, Mr. Bruce Bidney.
Thank you, Phil, and what already an exciting evening, just being out front and meeting people, and just can feel the history. And I feel honored to be here tonight. I'm Bruce Bidney, the principal here at Spectrum. It's almost 5 years. I'm into my 5th year at Spectrum, and time flies, and I've loved every minute of it here. What a wonderful school. Woo! First, I want to recognize that we are in the traditional territories of the Esquimalt and Songhees Nations. And I can't imagine a better evening, a beautiful evening. As you walked in, I hope you were able to see that we have a wonderful Indigenous garden that our staff and students have been working on for 3 years. The Gary Oaks, the Camas. We live in such a beautiful place, and this environment here at Spectrum is just an example of what a wonderful place that we are in Victoria. I would also, with working with the alumni here, I can't tell you enough about how much work this group of alumni have been doing together. It's over the years, and as Phil alluded to, we've been through that evil C word, and we're still going through that. But we've managed to keep our chins up, and this group has just been nothing but wonderful to work with and actually learn from is most important. Not only that, but they've been contributing money and alumni and funds from the community for scholarships for students. And we were handing out dollars every year to students to go on and live their dreams. And that's a wonderful ode to the alumni as well. And I'd just like to again elaborate on just seeing some of the faces here and some of the names that are on this Distinguished Alumni wall, the past Distinguished Alumni and the future. I grew up here in Victoria as well, and so some of these names and the people that I've been meeting tonight, again, it's truly an honor to be part of this room with everyone this evening. I'm going to be introducing Mr. Tom Sumner over here to my left. He's a 1969 Mount View grad and alumni, and he's going to give us a little bit of a tour of the history of the two schools, especially at Mount View. So without further ado, Tom.
Well, good evening, and thank you for Bidney. I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of the Mount View and something that I have put together as gifts for the recipients of the Distinguished Awards. Might just let you know that Mount View High School, where it stood on Cary Road, was built in 1931. And the school on Cary was conceived as Saanich High School and was intended to serve the entire municipality of Saanich. It didn't happen. 42 years later, the Greater Victoria School District decided that Mount View had outdone its area and they needed to build a new school, and Spectrum was built. For years after the school closed, the building stood on Cary Road and was used from numerous groups and organizations. In August of 2007, it was decided that the school was going to be torn down. When the school, Mount View, was being demolished, I knew I had to have a small piece of the history. I had the opportunity to secure some of the wood from the rubble of the school. The gift that the recipients of the Distinguished Awards this evening are going to receive are hand-turned pens that I made from rescued wood from the Mount View High School. In the pens, and Mr. Bidney had talked about the oak, and in one of the designs of the pens, for the ones that I made two different designs, and the one that just so happened that came from, or is going to the Spectrum Distinguished winners, actually is some wood from the Mount View High School as well as oak. And that was just something that I had no idea that oak was so prevalent around the area, and I didn't cut a tree down for it, thank goodness. I would have been in trouble by Saanich probably, but I found a piece of wood somewhere and incorporated it into the pens. So I hope that the award recipients cherish the pens forever and ever. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. At this time, I'd like to introduce someone you all know probably. He was a teacher, a vice principal, and a principal of Spectrum, Mr. Rob House.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Tom. The story kind of reminds me of when the Memorial Arena was torn down. I went and got my piece of the concrete. Not quite the same as a nice pen made out of wood. That's great, Tom. Thank you for doing that. So greetings and warm fuzzies, all you Hokies out there this evening, whether you're graduates, faculty, or family and friends here in support. As Phil says, I am Rob House. I was an educator in the district for 34 years before retiring 5 years ago. Goodness, where does the time go? As Phil mentioned, I did 2 stints here at Spectrum. First as a teacher in the late 80s, math and English were my areas. And then retiring in 2018 here as the 9th principal of Spectrum. The evening tonight, as you can tell from the picture here, is dedicated to the memory of Wally Russell, Spectrum's first principal. So I spent considerable time trying to figure out what to say about a man that I only really came to know 5 or 6 years ago with the Breakfast Club. I'll get back to that in a minute. Wanted to say a few words that were dignified, respectful to him and his family. A couple of here are here this evening. And so I had to do a bit of research. Thankfully, Wally kind of made it easy for me. He did actually write a book, his memoirs, during the COVID years. It's not officially published, although I wish kind of it was. It's a very interesting read. But it did help answer my question about where to start. And the chapter is called At the Urinal. So the story took place in the spring of 1973 while he was principal at Belmont. He was at an administrator's dinner that evening and left for the washroom, and who followed him, Jake Longmore, who was the superintendent of the Victoria School District at the time, stood in the stall next to him. And after the usual pleasantries, he said to Wally, he says, "Congratulations, we've been watching the success you have been having with that small school of yours," referring to Belmont. I get a different Belmont back in those days. Needless to say, Wally, he was over the moon. But in short, this is where he unofficially was offered the principalship of Spectrum. Yeah, there was probably a few formalities to go through. There is the business of, I think, an interview with some trustees, etc. But Jake assured him the job was his. My, how things have changed. And with that, Wally was hired to build a new type of secondary school with the open concept, team teaching, the teacher advisor system, several innovative courses, programs, and ideas that essentially put the students at the center of their education. Quote, "Students should be for kids," kids in capital letters, Wally states in his book, and thus began the history of Spectrum. Now, some of you have probably heard parts of this story before about original proposals of names, but according to Wally, the name the school board was suggesting at the time was Portage Inlet Secondary School. Was it coincidence that Wally was offered the principalship of a school with the initials PISS, think about it, while standing at a urinal? Why, things have changed. Fittingly, it was actually a committee of grade 10 and 11 students working with Wally and a few others who actually chose the name Spectrum. So, Wally was hired to the board office and given a year to prepare and work with architects, school board officials, and perhaps the most significant decision was to give Wally free rein to handpick his staff, some of whom I know are here today. My, how things have changed. Would have loved to have been able to pick my staff that way as well, but that's not the way it's done. But Wally had that opportunity. So as you probably know, there were delays in the construction, some cuts to the overall design. At one point, there was even the suggestion that the new school opened without a gymnasium. Are you kidding me? And if you know anything about Wally's athletic background, that wasn't going to happen. So Spectrum did open in '74 in the old building, the Mount View building that Tom just referenced. And then with the new building ready to go, I'm not 100% clear whether it was at late '75 or into 1976, but sometime around that era, the new building did open with a gymnasium. So from TA afternoons and warm fuzzies and hokies and old waivers and to clubs and new programs and the magical mystery tour and teaching faculty who love kids, that was the most important one. And over time, all of this became the fabric of the school. The warm, fuzzy spirit that lives on today. Although, they did put walls in on the 3rd floor. I heard that. So upon my retirement 5 years ago, I was invited to the weekly breakfast that I referenced earlier with a group of retired administrators that Wally was also a part of. Everyone likes telling stories at these breakfasts. We solve all the problems of the world, but frankly, none were better than Wally's, whether embellished or not. And it was here that I got to know him much better. Growing up in trail, his athleticism in sports like baseball, basketball, golf, he was good. And his coaching at schools and in the community. Indeed, the slight connection was he coached my brother and his son Cal in a senior, I think it was called Senior Babe Ruth back in those days. So, great educator, awesome educator, absolutely. Great athlete and coach, check. But what I learned the most was how much of a proud family man he was. Since I was the newcomer to the group, I remember he made it a point to get to know me, about me and my family, and then proudly told me all about his wife Norma, kids Jody, Cal, and Chad, and his 4 grandchildren, and showed me plenty of pictures along the way. I do believe one of the great marks of a great educator is knowing that it's family first, then the job. But yes, there are certainly long hours associated with the profession. We all know that. Family is everything to me, Wally stated towards the end of his book. So I'll end with just one more quote. He says, "The greatest thing that I taught my students was self-worth." Wally Russell's students believed in themselves, he said. They were respectful and accepted responsibility, and most importantly, they followed their hearts. Which brings us to today. Fast forward 50 years from that meeting at the urinal to this tonight, the Spectrum Mount View Alumni Association event to honor 6 past grads who followed their hearts, and a teacher who was one of Wally's recruits. Side note, Joe, you're in the book. Something about a handshake I'm led to believe. And there's a few others that are mentioned as well, mostly positive, mostly. Of course, this is one of our purposes, the alumni's purposes, is to preserve and honor the history of the 2 schools, in which the other purpose is to connect our alumni association with the present by raising money for scholarships. Each year, we pay out well over $3,000 to very deserving grads, current grads. And all proceeds from tonight will go to this fund. So drink up. So in closing, I'd like to sincerely thank Wally's families. There are a couple here tonight for attending this dedication. It is truly appreciated, but I know how much you must miss him. I know we all miss him. Warm fuzzies, Wally. Tonight demonstrates that your legacy lives on. And if I had a beer or a wine, I would raise a toast, but I've got a bottle of water, so I am going to do a toast to Wally and in his memory. So, to Wally. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rob. Okay, our first honoree of the evening is Carol James. And Carol was involved in that transitional year that Rob referred to in Spectrum coming from Mount View. And when Mount View closed, Spectrum opened, and they were in two camps. And so right now I'm going to ask that she be introduced by the ex-Students' Council President of Reynolds Secondary School, a recently retired MLA, and the 36th Premier of British Columbia, John Horton.
Go Roadrunners. It's good to be here. I have to say that there's only one person on this good earth that could get me into this building, and she's sitting right over there. It is uncomfortable for me to be here this evening with all of you distinguished alumni, family, and guests, and to hear talk about how wonderful things were at Spectrum. It's almost as if you're talking about Reynolds, where I was on Tuesday talking to a grade 10 class, and they had, as I said to some people out in the foyer, they had no questions, and only two of them were sleeping that I could tell because the light wasn't so good because it's an older school, of course, than this one, but you all know that. It is an honor to be here speaking for my friend Carol James. I want to go by the numbers a little bit, and I also want to, I was concerned about which microphone I was going to get. I told Karen Turner/York that I can't say hello in 4 minutes, but I'll do my best to try and encapsulate an extraordinary life in that time. Carol was 10 years as BC School Trustee, 5 years the President of the BC School Trustees Association, 15 years as a member of the legislature, 8 years the leader of the Misfit Toys, also known as the New Democratic Party, and 3 years as Deputy Premier and Minister of Finance. Over that time, Carol and her family have helped over 40 foster children in their community, which interestingly was named by the founding fathers, and they were fathers regrettably at the time. They named James Bay long before Carol was born, knowing that she was going to be coming there and dominating it as an individual. I get the opportunity to walk with Carol. I call it forced marches, and so when she asked me if I would do this, I thought how much walking is involved, and it's just a few steps, so I'm quite comfortable with that. I also knew that I was going to be able to meet and have a chat with Tom and Dennis Sumner, two lacrosse players that I grew up idolizing, and I want to show you the pen that I got that's not made out of Mount View, but it's made out of a Logan lacrosse stick, so I'm proud to have this. You can keep your fur. This is a good Logan lacrosse stick. But when Carol and I walk, what I notice most of all is her commitment to exercise and fitness, her commitment to talking to every single person we come across. And every now and again she likes to say, oh, and this is the former premier, and they look at me as if I'm from another planet, not just Lancashire, but from another planet. Because they really want to talk to Carol. Because for as long as Carol has been involved in the community, she's been genuinely concerned about the well-being of the people who live there. And when she decided to step into provincial politics and become the leader of the official opposition, she took her show away from just James Bay, away from just here in Victoria, and started to be concerned about all British Columbians, wherever they may live, whatever their perspectives may be. In all of the time I've been involved in government, I've not come upon anyone who is committed to working for positive outcomes the way Carol James has. And when we were sworn in as the government in Government House in July of 2017, the loudest applause, in fact it was a roar, was when Carol James was announced as the Deputy Premier and the Minister of Finance. And it was one of the proudest days of my life to know that my friend was humble and concerned that people were taking too much time, giving her the praise that she so rightly deserved, because she's never sought that in her entire life. She sought helping other people. And she learned these things, of course, from her parents. Lauren is here today, and from Mavis, who's no longer with us. She learned about giving back to community. And I would suggest that spending time here at Spectrum Community School was part and parcel of the development of one of the most extraordinary people that I've had the good fortune of ever meeting. And I'm so grateful to call her my friend, and I am so proud and honored to be here and wrapping up in under 5 minutes saying, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the most extraordinary person I know.
See, a miracle really did happen tonight because John gave a speech in less than 10 minutes. So that is a miracle, I want you to know. I also want to say thank you, John, because the last time that John and I were together, I kind of roasted John at an event. And so I was a little bit worried about where he might go. So you were remarkably restrained. Thank you, John. I really appreciate that. I also want to recognize Wally Russell, who was my school principal. At Mount View then, which became Spectrum, and to say to his family members who are here tonight, thank you. Thank you for sharing such an extraordinary visionary man who created the kinds of programs that provided an opportunity for me and for so many other students to be able to engage with school again. So a huge thanks and huge appreciation. And to the Alumni Association as well for this honor. I really am a proud first graduating class of Spectrum graduate, because although we didn't have the new school, we had all of the innovation that then became known as Spectrum as the years went on. I was part of a unique program at Spectrum created in the kind of creativity that you've heard about that really reflected the 1970s in the name of the program. It was called the Life Program. And while the name really reflected the decade that it was created, the program itself, in fact, I think, reflected the values that Spectrum has continued today. If you look at things like innovation, creativity, reaching out to the larger community, those are all pieces that started back then with the Spectrum School when it began and have continued on. I took some time to dig up my annual and see how they described the program, because I thought it was interesting to look at what it was looked at in the 70s. And the annual said, and I quote, "The program was a radical departure from established policy in the district. It was an attempt at punching holes in the plexiglass wall that separates the school community and the community at large." Now, I'm sure most of you would be shocked to think that I would be drawn to a program that might kick the boundaries out of the way, that might push the sides, but it was exactly the kind of program that appealed to me in grade 11 when I was asked if I'd take part in the program in grade 12. I was a James Bay kid, as John has said, so to come all the way out to Spectrum, all the way out to Mount View at the time, people wondered why, but I think the program really served me well and served the students well. It really provided an opportunity for us to see innovation in action. We took at the time 4 courses within the school, so you took the main courses, math, science, the things that were important for graduation, and then we had the opportunity to develop our own curriculum for the other electives, the 4 electives that you were required to have for graduation. And so we could be as creative as we wanted as long as we got the learning outcomes that were in place from the province in order to be able to graduate. I think huge credit went to the teacher advisor at the time, Justice Havilar, who in fact is the grandfather of one of the teachers on your staff right now, Nora Havilar. He was an extraordinary man. He was an extraordinary teacher and an extraordinary man. He kept all of the students on track despite the criticism and the skepticism that came across the district about the program. He really stayed focused and made sure that we had the opportunity to be as innovative as we could as students. This recognition really gave me a chance to think back and reflect on that year in Spectrum and my year in the Life program, and how it really gave me the chance, and all of the students a chance, to be able to firsthand see the importance of a number of values that have stayed with me. Things like being self-motivated, engaging and learning from the larger community, how to push the boundaries within an existing system. That might have come in handy later on in my life. How to stretch beyond your comfort zone. And I think one of the most important pieces was how to balance the freedom of choice, of creating your programs, of having free rein around that, to match up with the responsibility of making sure that you met the learning outcomes of the existing system that still had to be there, to make sure that we all graduated with full credits, and to make sure we really were learning through all of that time. So I know that the students who took part in that program, all of us, didn't see at all at the time how innovative the program was. We were taking part in a grade 12 program. We were a tight group of people. There were about 25 of us, 2 teacher advisors. And I think looking back, you can see now how those values really stayed with us. But at the time, I think none of us thought of all of this as innovation. I learned not to be afraid to say yes to things that you might think would stretch you much further than you ever could. And again, I think anyone who's ever been asked to run for politics or get involved in politics, if you're not at least a little bit afraid, you really haven't explored the job enough. It really gave me the chance to challenge the status quo within a system, which I might have used 1 or 2 or 3 times, John, I think, over the time period. I think that was important. It taught us to be engaged, to be curious. And whether, I think the most important piece of all, and John mentioned it, whether it's my years at the legislature, my years on school board, whether it's the work in the community, I always cared deeply about the work I did. I was passionate about what I believed in. And the Life program and Spectrum really taught me that you can take your passion and do something with it. You can use it. And if you do that, you don't work a day in your life. Because every day you love the work, even the really tough times, and there are lots of tough times in politics, even the really tough times. It was work that I was passionate about and that I cared deeply about. And I think those are skills that I learned from my activist family, that certainly every single day we were reminded of, but they're also skills that I had the chance to practice right here at Spectrum because of innovation, because of creativity, because of teachers and leaders who took a chance, who were willing to stretch the boundaries and recognize that those would give lessons to students lifelong. So a huge appreciation and huge thank you for the recognition tonight. Thank you to Spectrum for life lessons that I certainly didn't see at the time, but in fact have done me well throughout my career and throughout my life. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brad. An amazing trail you blazed for us. And thank you, John. We may have to make you an honorary Hokie at Spectrum. It'll go to a vote. Okay, so our next honoree is a much-loved retired biology teacher and soccer coach of Mount View and Spectrum. And here to introduce Joe is, and I'll ask you to welcome back to the stage, an old friend of mine from the Rainbow Park days in the 1950s and 60s. Good grief, we're old. Is Tom Somner. And before Tom does his introduction, I noted that being a master woods cardsman, he played for the Mount View Hornets soccer team, and as John alluded to, that he played for the Victoria Shamrocks and Gorge FC. And Tom has the unique distinction, I think there's only 2 people in the city that share this distinction in the history of the Colonist Cup, which started in 1934, of winning 3 consecutive Colonist Cups, which is unheard of. And the other person you're going to hear from who shared that honor is Bob Palifo. So anyways, with Frank Leonard as his boss, Tom served his community as a firefighter for 34 years. So Tom, come on up to the mic.
Thank you, Phil, and good evening, everybody. I'm back again, and you can call me Tom again. as opposed to not John from Langford. Thank you. Like Phil said, our next honoree for the Distinguished Alumni Award is no stranger to most of the people in this room this evening. This person, and is a friend of mine, Joe Beckers. I was in one of Joe's first classes at Mount View. I had actually gone back to school and to pick up some courses so that I could maybe move on with my life a little bit farther. And Joe enticed me to come back and play soccer again. And I was very grateful of that. Joe was a builder of a unique culture that characterized both Mount View from the fall of 1969 through the first 25 years of Spectrum. His teaching style was instrumental in developing partnerships with the work-study and post-secondary groups. He alluded a lot of the information that he did is he worked with Camosun College and got some of his students credits for going and getting into the post-secondary a little bit easier in the transition. As a coach, Joe's success was legendary. He outmounted my 3 Columnist Cups. With his boys' teams in 20 years, he appeared in 13 Columnist Cup finals and winning 8, as well as winning 6 championship teams with his girls' soccer team. He wasn't just specifically for the boys, he spread himself around. And throughout his teaching career, Joe also sponsored a track and field, swimming, badminton, and a version of slapstick with the Hanson brothers, a boys' field hockey team. And not to be left out were the numerous educational trips with students all over the world. He took the kids on field trips. I think when I went to school, I think I went down to the legislature and swimming at the Crystal Garden. So it came a long ways. And at the time, when I went back to school, I was only 17 years old. I'm 71 now, and Joe's still my friend. Joe's been passionate about his education and the success of his students. And he's a perfect choice to be our first teacher to have the honor of Distinguished Alumni.
No, I'm okay. I just want to start off by pointing out the diversity of the honorees. We have, with these honorees, a Deputy Premier, we have a Lord Mayor, we have a present-day Councillor, we have a Professor, we have an international researcher, we have an international soccer player. They are our alumni. They went to our schools. We are very proud of them. As far as John is concerned, we can't include you. But he did go to Australia for 1 year and furthered his education. And it's no wonder he became such a great premier. Tom, thank you for your introduction and your kind words. Much appreciated. Tom was a student in 1969, and he was the captain of the first soccer team that I coached in Canada. He, along with his vice captain, Bobby Belatho, were 2 great leaders, made coaching easy. True to form, they took a team that was lying 5th halfway through the year and won the Colonist Cup and the Island Championship. In 1969 to 31 years later, 2000, I stood on this stage saying goodbye at my retirement. It was a festive event, but inside me, I had very mixed emotions. I was leaving behind 35 years of teaching and coaching, stuff that I really loved. 23 years later, tonight, I'm standing here again, and I'm receiving this wonderful reward by the Spectrum alumni for the contributions that I made to the two schools. I'm very honored, and I thank you for doing that. When you get an award, you can't do it all by yourself. You've had help along the way. Thank you to all the principals that I served under for guiding the schools to the success that they had. A special mention to my late friend Wally Russell. He was the first principal of Spectrum, and he was given the privilege of picking his own staff. He selected people from the Mount View staff, from Victoria, from the island, and from the mainland. I got lucky. With him guiding the school and the staff that was so innovative, the students were soon on board, and it didn't take long, and we were the envy of most other schools. It was the best 5 years of my teaching life. I want to thank all the staff members that I work with. I want to thank them for their advice that helped me become a better teacher. I want to thank them for their support and all the endeavors that I got into. But most of all, I want to thank them for their friendship. It was a joy to come to work every day. Special mention to my friend Ted Sarkisian, with whom I spent 26 years teaching biology, and it was all good. To the many students that I taught, that I had the privilege of teaching, I hope I was a positive influence on your life. It's a difficult time when you're 16, 17, 18, you're coming out of the teenager, going to the adult. Your enthusiasm, your energy, and your will to learn had an effect on me, and I think it helped shape my life. I'd like to just quickly mention the Gord Soccer Association, where I coached for a few years, because they always provided us with ready-made soccer players, boys and girls. So coaching at this school was pretty easy. I want to thank the alumni once again for the honor, for picking me as the first distinguished teacher, but I assure them that the second, the third, the fourth will not be very difficult to find, because there's been some great teachers in this building. I would like to share this award with my family, my wife Judy, my daughter Georgina, and my son Paul, for all the support and love they gave me in my 35 years of teaching. Thank you for coming, making this a celebration.
Well said, Joe. You notice I've never used any notes either. It's pretty good. So our next honoree is Bob Malenko. But before we get to Bob, there's a little bit of history I need to share with you. I have with me here a rugby ball. Sad shape that it's in. This rugby ball is from Mount View, Howard Russell Cup winners 1965. And I thought maybe Dave Cutler is here tonight, was part of that, but sadly he graduated in 63, is that right, Dave? But also Tom's brother Dennis was on that team that won this beautiful trophy. Also, a little bit of history, how we got here. A number of years ago, we recognized an NFL football player, Eddie Murray, who was a Spectrum alumni. And he played for such teams as the Dallas Cowboys, the Detroit Lions, and ultimately winning the Super Bowl in 1994. And I know, Joe, you were part of that celebration a number of years ago that we recognized him here. And that really, and he was a place kicker, and no pun intended, they really kick-started us off to recognizing the alumni. And Eddie was an American football player, and football, as the English call it, is soccer. Soccer in British Columbia, or Canada, is known as soccer. And there have been a number of players from Victoria who've made the headlines as international, national, professional soccer players. And included in that, you have to recognize Bob Belitho. So the best thing for me to do at this point is just to read a little bit of the citation that goes with his photograph outside the library. One of the most celebrated soccer players from Victoria, Bob Belitho, played his youth soccer with Gorge FC and was a member of Mount View's high school team that won 3 consecutive Colonist Cups in up to 1970, 71. In 1974, Bob turned down the opportunity to play professionally and instead went to the 1975 Pan Am Games and the 1976 Olympic Games. And Bob described playing in the Olympic Games as the greatest thrill of my life. And Bob then began an 8-year professional career of almost 200 games in the North American Soccer League, and ultimately ended up playing with the Whitecaps that won the championship, the Soccer Bowl, in 1979. Bob has been inducted into the Canadian Soccer Hall of Fame, the Greater Victoria Sports Hall of Fame, and of course the Soccer Hall of Fame of BC. So if we, Renee, could bring Bob in from North Carolina, he has a message for all of us.
Evening, distinguished alumni. Bob Belitho here, coming to you from Charlotte, North Carolina. Graduating class, Mount View, 1971. Long time ago. Although, you know, I still remember it like it was yesterday. I'm not sure if Spectrum still does this or not, but back in the day, Mount View had a grade 10 class. And I was in that class, and I guess I decided to go into the grade 10 class at Mount View because I came up through the Gorge Soccer Association, and a lot of my friends that I played with, who are a little older than I am, were at Mount View. So I had the opportunity to be with them, and of course get involved in their soccer program. And so lo and behold, that's what I did. And so 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade was a fabulous year. We won 3 Colonist Cups and everything that we could win. Tommy Sommer, I know that you're in the crowd tonight. I don't know if you remember this, but one of the Colonist Cup games, we had a free kick. It was probably 20-25 yards out of in front of the goal. The other team had their wall lined up. They thought I was going to shoot. But instead I slipped it down beside the wall. Tom Sumner comes running onto it, blasts it in the roof of the net. Hey, Tommy. I remember that like it was yesterday. Tommy, I don't know if you remember that, but dollars to donuts, I bet you do. Yeah. So it was, it was fabulous. Mount View was a special time in my life. And, I talk about the sports because I'm a sports guy and that kind of stuff. But even when Joe Beckers came, Joe, I'm thrilled that you're being recognized as an alumni. But I remember the day that you came. I remember that year. I remember going into the gym after school at 3:15, like 3 or 4 times a week, and playing badminton until we couldn't stand up. I mean, I remember more about badminton with Joe Beckers than I do about biology. I know it's crazy. Right? Then of course, once I graduated, I was fortunate enough to represent my country on 34 or 35 different occasions. I played in the Pan American Games in '75, played in the Olympics in '76. After the Olympics, I spent 5 seasons with the Vancouver Whitecaps, highlighted with winning the North American Soccer League Championship in 1979, which is just an unbelievable experience. After that year, it was 80, 81, then I got traded, went down to the States, spent 3 years with Fort Lauderdale, and then finished my career 2 years with the Tampa Bay Rowdies. And it was just fabulous. I played against some great teams. I played with some just amazing and against some fabulous players. And it was just a spectacular time in my life. To this day, I'm still friends with a lot of these people, and we stay in contact, which is just fantastic. But it was a wonderful experience, and I would never change anything. I had an opportunity to travel. I've been places I would have never ever been able to go if it wasn't for soccer. And I am truly very grateful for that. But like all things come to an end. Unfortunately, they ended in your 30s, which is things like you're just getting going, but that's not how it works. So when I retired, I actually spent some time back in Victoria, eventually got involved in real estate and property management and did that for a number of years in Victoria. And then back in 2001, we decided to move back down to the States. And we came to the Charlotte area. Once again, I got involved in the real estate and property management and did that for the next 25 and 30 years until I retired. So I've been retired now for 3 or 4 years. Still try to stay active. As a matter of fact, I've basically gone full circle here, and I have started coaching. I coach at a private school down in the Matthews area, which is a suburb of the Charlotte area, and I coach middle school girls in the spring, and I coach middle school boys in the fall. The seasons are about 3 months long, and so for 6 months of the year, I am training every day and running around and doing my thing with these kids, and I just love it. They're great kids. They're middle school, so we're talking 13, 14 years old, which is it's a fabulous time. They make me feel young, and I will do it until I can't do it anymore. But that's what I do. When I'm not playing, of course, I still like being busy. Do a lot of kayaking, we do cycling, we actually have an RV, so we travel as much as we can. We're going out to Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, and that kind of stuff, and just enjoying life, because that's really what it's all about. As I said earlier, I'm thrilled and honored to be a Distinguished Alumni. I'm with people that I awed, and to be with. I'm looking at people that have spent their whole careers in education and in politics, and they've been doing what they've been doing for 30 or 40 years. I only played soccer professionally for 10 years. So it seems crazy that I'm getting recognized for a 10-year stint when other people are being recognized for a whole lifetime, 50. Regardless, I'm thrilled and I'm honored. And it's interesting that a lot of the alumni are scattered. They live in different cities. Some live, in different countries. But there are certain things that bind us and glue us and make us special. And I want to show you one of those things. Bear with me, because I'm going to carry you. So bear with me a sec here. So I want to show you what that special thing is. So let me flip you around here. There he is right there, my friends. The flag hangs beautifully in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it will always do. God bless you. Love you all.
Thank you, Bob. Our next honoree is Elisa York. And at this time, I'd like to introduce an old friend of mine from our teaching days at Colquitt's and here at Spectrum, a retired head counselor from Oak Bay. Please welcome the proud father of Elisa, Alan York.
You won't be over there?
There we go, yeah.
Oh,
Thanks, Aubrey.
thank you. Wow. You have to excuse me, I don't normally reference notes. Been an educator for 52 years, both in school, counselor, and at UVic. But tonight, as I'm sure you can understand, particularly the parents and grandparents out there, this is a pretty emotional evening for me. I'll keep it short. Your next graduate, as Phil said, is recognized as a member of the, to be recognized as a member of the Spectrum Distinguished Alumni, graduated with the class of '87. She received the Governor General's Medal for the top academic student in that year, and she went on to McGill and there worked and lived throughout Canada, from Montreal to Whitehorse, constantly refining her skill as a wordsmith. She returned to Victoria for several years, where she met and married her husband, Clive Holden, an internationally acclaimed artist and producer of alternate film. She moved to Winnipeg, where her skill as a writer absolutely blossomed. Her initial genre was short fiction, and her work entitled Any Given Power won the Journey Award and the Bronwyn Wallace Award. Her writing evolved into the genre of historical fiction novel, and soon was internationally acclaimed. The novel, Effigy, released by Random House in 2007, was one of the 5 shortlisted novels for the prestigious Scotiabank Giller Prize. The latest novel, entitled Far Cry, was just released last March and is receiving incredible reviews. Set in Rivers Inlet, BC, it has been described as a story of mystery and forbidden love that is both hypnotic and an astonishingly immersive journey that will leave its readers reeling. This distinguished Spectrum grad now lives in Toronto, where she is a fully tenured professor at Humber College in the Faculty of Creative Writing. And so it is with admiration and enormous pride that I introduce you to via video link with one of Canada's most prestigious novelists, my daughter, Elisa York.
I'm Elisa York, class of '87, and the last time that we met, I was a teenager. So, you know, I was kind of an idiot. The way teenagers can be. High school, as you know, is a tough time, and I was a freak. I didn't really fit in, but I was also really lucky. I was lucky because I had a loving family. My dad, poor guy, he was the counselor at Spectrum when I was there. He tells me I turned his hair gray, but I had a loving family. And I had some amazing friends who got me through. And I had some incredible teachers who helped prepare me for life and who helped me get excited about life and learning. So nowadays, I'm a writer. I mostly write novels. That's the most recent one, Far Cry. And I teach. I teach creative writing at Humber College in Toronto. So I just want to say thank you, Spectrum. This is a real honor, and it means a lot. And I want to say thank you for this honor and also for all your great work in helping get me through way back when. And keep up the good work. Thanks.
Thank you, Elisa. Wonder who her English 12 teacher was. Yeah, I gave her an A. Anyway, now it's time for some door prizes. And these prizes range in value from $25 to $300. And I'm going to ask Sharon if you would come up and help me. These prizes have been donated by House of Knives. The CEO, Andre Ng, was a first recipient of honorary at the Spectrum. Also, the Horticultural Center of Saanich and La Rue Patisserie. So we're going to do 3 draws right now. So check your numbers. And while I'm doing that, the old waivers are getting ready on stage. All right, here we go, Tom. Okay. All right, the first number is 02356482. There's a winner. Yay! There you go. So you can wait until a little while when we get the pause, and you'll come down and collect your prize. All right. Dig deep. The next winner is 02356479. Do we have a winner? We have a winner. There we go. Right in the back. There we go. And one more. 02356436. Who's the winner? 36. Do we have a winner?
That's 39.
2356436.
Doreen, give
Close.
No, it's 39.
Do we have to draw another one, Sharon? Okay. We'll draw another one. Maybe it'll be that 35.
We're drawing another one. Oh, that's 55.
Okay, here we go. 02356425. Oh! There's the winner of the corner there. Okay. No. That's good. Okay, it's now time for the old waivers. And it's actually been rumored that they have been practicing for this. This was something that never happened when I was here. Never. They've been rehearsing. So please welcome to the stage Tom Gordon, Kurt Longpre, Brian Petlow, and Jeff Markey.
Go.
Hello, thank you. Everybody good? We have a couple of songs to do for you today.
We did the same that way.
All right, let's give it up for all those honorees tonight. That's some fantastic old faces. So great to see everybody here tonight. Thank you for coming. Mr. Beckers, nice to see you. Yes, indeed.
Okay, this was put together a few years ago by Tom, working with Tom Getty.
Yeah. on board on lead vocals. Give it up for Tommy.
Thank you, distinguished audience. The next song sort of evolved 40 years ago or more.
A little audience participation maybe on this one too. Help us sing along a little bit. I think some of you know the words. Okie song, does that sound familiar? Anyone? Okay, maybe not. It's up ground, okay.
We don't smoke marijuana here at Spectrum. We don't take our trips on crack or cheese. We don't throw our litter around sports fields. We like living right, being free. I'm proud to be a Hokie here in Spectrum, a place where even squares can have a ball. We still wave warm fuzzies down at Cletus. Graduation's still the biggest thrill of all. We don't make a party of the sick. We like holding hands and pitching moves. We don't let our bodies be forgotten, like the kids out at the other high schools do. But I'm proud to be a Hokie here at Spectrum, a place where even squares can have a ball. We still wave warm fuzzies down at Thea's. Graduation's still the biggest thrill of all. We don't dress like clones in just one fashion. Monks and jocks and rockers might be seen. Soccer's still the biggest game on campus, and the kids here still respect the Spectrum dream. I'm proud to be a Hokie here from Spectrum, a place where even squares can have a ball. We still wave warm fuzzies down at Thea's, and graduation's still the biggest thrill of all. Well, I'm proud to be a Hokie here from Spectrum, a place where even squares can have a ball. We still wave warm fuzzies down at Thea's, and graduation's still the biggest thrill of all. Graduation's still the biggest down at Thea's.
Okay, bold waivers, great job, Spectrum staff members, past and present. Yeah, pretty good. So we actually have some more door prizes to draw, 3 more. And Tom is going to bring them over. These are from the House of Knives Horticultural Center of Saanich, and also from the House of Knives. So here we go. No, cheating. All right, here we go. Or the door prize. 023-56397. Oh, there we go. Tanis Hendra, graduation 1980. All right, Tanis. Our next one is 023-56429. Oh! There we go, there's the winner. And our last door prize. Dig down deep. 023-56500. 500.
I didn't
They left?
Yep.
Oh, too bad.
Yep.
Okay, it was 023-56500. Okay, well, right again. Okay, 02-35-6499. Yeah. Steve Beggs, class of 71. Does anyone remember? Yeah. Steve, I remember in my junior high days. Maybe. Okay. That's it. Okay, now we have 3 remaining honorees. And it's time to meet some science guys. So our next honoree is Dr. Scott Jazenko from the University of California in Santa Barbara. And here to introduce Scott is the celebrated basketball player and former science teacher at Spectrum, Brady Quast.
Nope. Yeah. Mike's dead.
Testing. I'm going to do a little bit more reading off your sheet. I have 3 little ones at home, but only had a few moments to prepare. My name is Brady Quast, as Phil mentioned. I'm proud to say that I taught and coached at Spectrum from 2003 to 2016. Loved every minute of it, and it's wonderful to be back and see so many familiar faces. One of my earliest memories as a chemistry teacher at Spectrum was in the fall of 2003 during a Chem 11 lab experiment testing for the unique flame colors of different metals. Scott Jazenko, who I already knew as a prospective player for the basketball team, exclaimed, "This is so cool," with a genuine eye-glittering smile that helped me realize 2 things. 1, this lab experiment was a keeper. And 2, this guy has a passion for science. Fast forward 20 years, and Scott is one of the foremost voices on our planet in the field of hydrology, the study of water. I got to know Scott well during his high school years, as he was the captain of the senior boys basketball team in 2005, of which I was the coach. His friendly, encouraging, modeling style of leadership created a camaraderie that made the season an amazing mix of great wins, tough losses, but most importantly, a fun and valuable experience for all. I sort of had a nickname to myself. I never said it to the team, but I kind of always dubbed them as the little team that could. They were a smaller group, not a lot of height, but they fought with a lot of heart, and Scott was the driver of that. For those who knew him well, you could sense something special in a humble, understated way. Scott worked his way toward his undergrad, master's, and PhD throughout North America after first redshirting a year at Camosun on the basketball team, winning several awards along the way. I remember we had talked once while he was in post-secondary, and he remarked, "You know, those KSP calculations we had to learn in Chemistry 12? I actually use them regularly." Which is rare. He is now a tenured professor at UC Santa Barbara and is able to fit a few surfing breaks into his busy research and teaching schedule. Scott's wife, Deborah, is also a professor there, and they have co-authored more than a dozen research papers together, including a more recent salient article, warning that the world's groundwater reserves are running low. In 2012, my wife Jenna and I moved into the Spring Ridge neighborhood 2 doors down from Scott's parents, Gordon and Jennifer, and the house where Scott and his wonderful brother Glenn grew up. We're still there, and not only is it fantastic to have such amazing neighbors, Gordon and Jennifer, but I get to see and occasionally spend time with both Scott and Glenn, and I highly value those relationships. By observing his family, it is clear how important the role of a loving, supportive family is for children as they grow into adulthood. And I think about that often as my wife and I raise our 3 children. Scott has had well-deserved success in his career, but a big reason is who he strives to be as a person. Scott is kind and caring to all. He is an amazing listener and truly values the experience and viewpoint of others. I'm honored to introduce Scott tonight, but more honored to call him a friend. Scott.
Well, I too am proud to be a Hokie here at Spectrum. Thanks so much for having me here today, and for those that could put this on. This is a real honor for me because of what this school means to me. I received an outstanding education at Spectrum because of compassionate, caring teachers, both individuals like Brady that taught me about really cool science experiments that clearly inspired me at the time and still do today, but also more holistic lessons about the importance of empathy in education. Brady Quast really exemplified the best of this, and during the 2 years I spent at Spectrum, Brady mentored me both as a chemistry teacher and as an athletics coach. For those of you that are in education and maybe have just employed others, being a good mentor is no small task. It takes a lot of time, and Brady specifically volunteered so much time after hours, on weekends, even during summer holiday, which are precious and sacred here in Canada, to come to a PowerPoint presentation I was doing for an internship. And this is as good an occasion as any to say thank you to you for your support. You made a real positive difference in my life, as did many instructors here at Spectrum. You showed me the impact of being a good teacher, and I wouldn't be surprised if that played a role in my own decision to become an educator. Among the many lessons I gained here at Spectrum, one of which I'd like to chat a bit about is the importance of working with tenacity. I've carried this lesson of the importance of tenacity and working hard towards a goal into my time at university. In California, there's a recognized human right to water, safe drinking water. And globally, we still have problems. 10% of the global population lacks access to a clean and protected drinking water supply. Underground water supplies, rivers, and lakes are dwindling. And on top of that, we have issues with water contamination globally as a global threat. Our goal of the research that my wife Deborah and I are trying to lead in our laboratory at UC Santa Barbara is to try and make things better and develop locally relevant solutions to these global water problems. We also do that in tandem with many students. We employ dozens of students at the undergraduate level, master's, PhD, and postdoctoral level. And I like to think that some of the ways of education here at Spectrum are things that I bring into the way I mentor my own students here at UC Santa Barbara. We meet often with them, we try and build trust, and we do our best to simultaneously challenge our students while also showing them how to succeed. Those are all core tenets of Spectrum and things that I picked up here. So I'm so thankful for the people that are special to me here at the school and my mother for being here today. Thanks so much for your support over the years. I'm a proud product of the public education system and a firm believer in it, and I look forward to giving back to public education for the rest of my career. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. And you can see what a great impact a wonderful teacher makes on someone. Our next honoree is Frank Leonard. As a school in the municipality of Saanich, we're really honored to have current Mayor Dean Murdoch here to introduce a longtime Mayor, Frank Leonard. So Dean, come on down.
Thanks, thanks so much. It's a great pleasure to have the opportunity to be here with you this evening, and it's just raining politicians around here, it seems. I understand the opportunity to be introduced by a former premier is pretty extraordinary. I understand Frank probably did a lot of searching around for folks before he finally landed on me. So I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be here with you. What an extraordinary group of distinguished honorees this evening. There's certainly something in the water at Mount View and Spectrum, is there not? What an incredible group of individuals. We're really fortunate to have their remarkable contributions in our region, the province, and around the world. But I went to Claremont. They let me in the building anyway. We had a few pretty impressive lacrosse players come out of Claremont, John. And the most exciting news to come out of my grad class is somebody I graduated with just got named the head coach of the Washington Capitals. So I feel like I'm not really pulling my weight as a grad from Claremont. You know, it's a special treat for me to have the opportunity to introduce this next honoree. I'll keep my comments brief. I know that there's a lot of folks who've yet to speak. But I get the great pleasure of introducing Frank Leonard. And most of you will know Frank Leonard as the mayor of Saanich from 1996 to 2014. And I was reflecting on it, and Frank would have been a young man in his early 40s when he was first elected mayor of Saanich. And I wonder how many people asked you, Frank, if you were old enough to be in the mayor's chair. Because certainly that's a question that I still get from time to time. I've yet to be ID'd yet, but... His resume of accomplishments, though, is considerably longer than just serving as mayor, and I can tell you that being in that role is no small assignment. Prior to first being elected, Frank served as a director of the BC Chamber of Commerce, president of the Victoria Chamber of Commerce, and served on many local boards of tourism and economic development. He was elected to Saanich Council in 1986, where he served 10 years before being elected mayor and chair of the Saanich Police Board. He chaired the Capital Regional District, the Hospital District, and the Regional Housing Corporation. He was also chair of the Municipal Finance Authority of BC, president of the Union of BC Municipalities, and director on the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Board. Frank first became the mayor of Saanich right around the time I was graduating high school, when I was becoming involved in my community. And at that time, I got to see his leadership style and his approach to the role. I was fortunate to join Frank when I was elected as a member of council in 2008 and worked with him for 2 terms. And while we didn't always agree on policy or applications, his turn in the mayor's chair left an indelible impression on me. Without a doubt, the idea of what a mayor should be is informed by the mold that Frank cast. To this day, I think about Frank when I sit in the mayor's chair. In my interactions with council, staff, and the public, I was joking earlier that I should have a bracelet that says, "What would Frank do?" He reminded me that he has a bracelet that reminds him that he should be in Hawaii. I know that I'm not alone in thinking this way. In his post-political life, he's made a pretty good side hustle out of traveling around the province to speak to newly elected councils about their role as elected officials. Maintaining that kind of enduring respect for your time in office is rare these days. It speaks volumes to his effectiveness in the role and the legacy of his leadership. And it's a great joy for me to have the chance to join you in celebrating Frank this evening. So please join me in welcoming our next honoree, Frank Leonard.
Well, thank you, Dean. I know something about the number of invitations a mayor gets, so I appreciate you saying yes to this invite and taking the time to join us tonight. I'll keep my comments, I'll try and keep them brief. I know we're all tempted to say more as we go along, but It's an honor to be in the company of my fellow alumni, those that are being recognized tonight. A special congratulations to them, and it is an honor to be in a group. A special thanks to my family supporting me today, but family members over the years that have supported me on this journey. It's been a very important part of my life. So let me just make three general comments. One is just how much this means to me. I actually attended 9 schools in 12 years. My dad got moved around. He worked for a national rubber company before we ended up buying our own business here in Victoria. And even when we lived in a community, we tended to rent and move from house to house. So it would be remarkable if any school even remembered that I attended, let alone get a recognition like this. So it really does mean a lot to me. For those that, who are traveling similar paths to mine, and Dean mentioned that I still go around the province and coach mayors and councils. Some of them are on the news, so I'm not a successful coach all the time, but I try. And I stress that the goal was never to collect the titles and the position. The goal is to make a difference, to make the most of those opportunities, and make a difference in your community, in your province, and beyond. If you're just winning elections and taking positions, you're really wasting a life. To be fortunate enough to live in a country like ours, where you not only have the right to vote, but to get into elected office and to shape your community for the future, that's the opportunity, and that's what you should be embracing. And I pass that on every chance I get to those that are like Dean and Mina tonight, who hold office. Make the most of it. And I also get a chance to go into the classroom, and I was in a classroom here yesterday at Spectrum, but I get invited to other classrooms and talk about my journey. And I stress that a journey like mine, you highlight, the introductions are always about the successes, but in real life it's not always that way. Bob Blytho, a class ahead of mine, he didn't score on every shot. Dave Cutler will tell you he made every field goal, but I know he did not. Carol, incredible journey, but she didn't win every political battle, and neither did I. That's how real life is, and I stress that to younger people. You can't win unless you take a chance that you're going to lose. You can't succeed unless you take a chance you're not going to succeed. I've had some really great plan Bs. It's because plan A didn't work out. And I stress that you can't win unless you take a chance that you won't. And to be recognized for the wins, I think also needs to recognize the real life journey that I've had. My class in 1972 sang the song Teach Your Children by Crosby, Stills and Nash. We sang terribly, but that's what we did. If I were to choose a song at this point in my journey, it would be The Dance by Garth Brooks. And he sings, "It's my life, it's better left to chance. I could have missed the pain, but I would have missed the dance." So I thank you for this recognition of my journey, of my dance. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Murdoch and Frank. You can use that pen to score your golf score at Cedar Hill. Very good. Well, our final honoree is Mina Westhaver. Just when you think Sanesh has had its fill of fully representing us this evening, there's more to come. Here to introduce Mina is Dr. Laura Lazon, Professor of Health and Wellness at UVic. Welcome, Laura.
Well, first of all, what an inspiring evening this has been. Every distinguished alumni who's been honored has made such a difference and impacted so many people. Congratulations to all of you. It is my honor to introduce the last distinguished alumni of the evening, Councillor Mena Westhaver. We met by letter. I was co-producing and hosting an internationally syndicated television fitness show called Body Moves, produced by Czech TV in the mid-1980s. Mena wrote to me. She let me know that she participated in the exercise program at home, along with her sister, every day. She was 15 or 16 at the time. Fast forward a few years later, and Mena became an important member of the Body Moves team, where we became unexpected friends and longtime colleagues. I'll share just a few thoughts about Mena and how she has and continues to make this world a better place. First of all, I learned from Mena that family comes first. I've benefited from watching her grow her voice and support her husband. I have become a better parent of my own son because of her wonderful parenting skills and absolute devotion to her family. Somehow, she manages to balance her own family responsibilities with the all other duties as required, mentoring and guiding the hundreds of other extended family members that she's gathered along the way throughout her busy and remarkable work life. I continue to be moved at her deep and heartfelt commitment to helping others. From the support she provided for me and the entire Body Moves crew, helping to make a fitness show inclusive and diverse for people of all levels and ability, before inclusivity and diversity for participating in physical activity for health was even considered to be important. To organizing fundraisers in our community for so many causes too numerous to list tonight. To her graduate work that she did with me at UVic, where she studied leadership and researched the impact of leadership of older adults, high school students, and grade school children. And now to her new position as counselor for the District of Saanich. I believe she has truly found her calling. As Anatole France said, to accomplish great things, we must not only act, but also dream. Not only plan, but also believe. Mena brings out the best in all of us by accomplishing great things, acting, dreaming, planning, and also helping us to believe that all of us can make a difference too. Congratulations, Mena.
Thank you, Laura. Now, unfortunately, Mena is ill this evening and cannot attend. However, thanks to Renee, I think we're going to bring her in. We are right now live via Facebook, I think. Are we, Mena? There she is.
Can you hear me okay?
Okay, here we go.
And can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Wonderful. I am so deeply honored and I'm obviously overwhelmed with this whole event. I just want to start by thanking Renee and Rob for making this possible. How ironic that this event got canceled 2 years due to COVID, and now I canceled the morning of having tested positive. So I'm on day 4 of this journey, and I just want to thank Rob House for that phone call 3 years ago now, that the Spectrum Alumni Association persevered and committed to the students of Spectrum, made sure this event still happened. This acknowledgement truly is an honor. Thank you to everyone who came tonight. A couple more little brief introductions to my parents, Lois and Mariel, who are there tonight. Thank you for your ongoing support. I know you maybe rolled your eyes or shook your heads a few times at my ideas, but you never turned your back on me. Thank you for choosing to live in this beautiful community, Saanich, where we are forever grateful to work, play, and live on these traditional lands and many Indigenous nations that have stewarded them before us. We are the lucky ones. I know my family was all going to be here, but unfortunately, a few of us have fallen ill But two of my sons are present, Jack with his girlfriend Enya, both graduates of Spectrum, war alumni, and my son Jake. So thank you, boys. It means the world to me that you're there. Lastly, a huge thanks to Dr. Lara Lazon. Thank you for that lovely and moving introduction. More importantly, thank you for your friendship, your leadership, your mentorship. The fact is, Lara is been my mentor, dating back to my days at Spectrum Community School. I was one of those whose life was changed forever by a fitness TV show called Volumes. This is where my relationship began with Lara and my relationship to physical wellness. I cannot put into words what an honor it is to be acknowledged by a high school that you graduated from 34 years ago. When I had to tell my boys this morning that I wouldn't be able to be there presently and physically, I followed up with, this is truly a lifetime acknowledgement. So I thank you very much. And I'm honored to be surrounded by the other fellow alumni. Thank you and congratulations. Tonight I will speak briefly to my accomplishments, but more to the community that has embraced me to help me and continues to support me today. The community that led me to finding my path as a leader, to supporting my innate desire to serve and help others. A community that helped me to believe in my intuition. Now, just to landmark a couple places for you. And I'm not against change, but we grew up about 500 meters to the east of Spectrum School on a street called Animals. And we raised our family about 750 meters to the west of the school on a street called Tulip. Just a slight deviation and change. And I got to hang out at a facility about 300 or so, maybe a meter, maybe a bit longer, distance at Perks, where the teachers supported my desire to become a professional figure skater. I had this outstanding note that I don't think was ever written. I could show up late, I could leave early, because they knew I was determined and they believed in my commitment. So thank you. When I did travel the world skating with Ice-Capades, one thing was very, very evident. There was no place like home. And perhaps I tapped my figure skates when I said that, but there was nothing like Sandwich. I grew up loving and embracing life in every way possible, and again, fortunate to have countless choices to be engaged in. So I just kept saying yes. I didn't want to miss a beat. However, what paralleled these choices were challenges, surprises, unplanned events, adversities in which I had no choice over. And I needed to learn how to manage these. The loss of my brother, the cancer diagnosis of one of our children at a very young age, these were all compounding challenges. I focused on spinning adversity into positivity through exercise, community fundraising projects, and spiritual trust. And I'm grateful for those that believed in my ideas. When the organizers of the Tour de Rock contacted me to be a guest writer in 2016, without hesitation, I said yes. The truth was, I didn't even own a bike. I didn't even really like to ride a bike. I was scared. But I figured if children could go through what they went through every day during a cancer protocol, I could learn how to ride a bike. I saw this as a way to reach out to those families that were enduring difficult times, times that I reflected on as uncertain, scary, and very isolating. Through the Tour de Rock, I could raise money and help these families. I set a goal that some said was unrealistic. I set a goal of raising $75,000. They told me, Maina, you only need to raise $5,000. I said, I want to raise $75,000 because that way I could send 50 kids to Camp Times. A team of Soul Sisters rallied around my endeavors, and by the end of September, I got to announce that we had raised over $80,000. My confidence to say yes and to make change and to make these come to fruition were instilled in me at Spectrum Community School. Similar to when I said, I want to run for vice president. And the teachers around me rallied and said, yes, you can do this. And that became my journey of being interested in leadership at Spectrum School. My passion of physical activity was a gift I wanted to share. I wanted everyone to experience the benefits of movement. Ironically, now as the chair of the Accessibility, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Advisory Committee, I'm reminded that what we did on the Body Blue Show over 30 years ago was just this. We celebrated everyone, all levels of fitness, all ages, all stages, and all abilities. There was no such thing as a disability. And if we didn't know how or what, we went to those that knew how to make it happen. Physical activity isn't a club. It is an option that everyone should access. Physical activity options were oozing at Spectrum, and it was endorsed in me through my phys ed teachers. Mr. Mack, Boland, and Groom, they encouraged me to run faster and harder and to never give up. And I can still see them standing along the side of Burnside after they had already done their lap, cheering me on to the finish line when we were doing our runs. Creating in Soul Sisters Victoria was a journey that provided the opportunity for everybody a place to recreate, a place to celebrate our successes, a place to feel supported. As an athlete, the finish line feeling is one of tremendous accomplishment and often a relief. It finally happened, the finish line. And through Soul Sisters, I am extremely grateful to share multiple finish lines of others. It is truly a gift to share in someone else's success and accomplishment. And I'm so grateful. And I know there's some Soul Sisters here tonight. I'll mention Georgina, Joe Becker's daughter. To finish and see their successes with them is a gift. So thank them. When I connected with Laren back in 2014, we were going for a walk, simply to discuss the future possibility of doing a master's program. Somehow the next day by 4:30 p.m., I found myself in a classroom with 6 other individuals, 5 of whom were 20 years younger than me, in a research methodology class. Grad school had begun. The starting line had presented itself. And I heard myself say, yes, I'm doing it, before I had a chance to sign up. Acknowledging the importance of leadership, physical activity, and intergenerational relationships was my feasibility study of a program called iPal. The perfect combination of my passions, and a program I would then implement at our Senate Community Services. It was a gift to community, and watching the benefits of multiple generations recreate together was beautiful. I was and I am forever grateful for my mentors I have had in my life that have presented choices for me to excel in my athletic goals, my educational aspirations, my spiritual curiosities, and my professional endeavors. Living gratefully has allowed me to take dissemination of information, paying it forward, and fostering our youth with opportunities as a serious responsibility. What can I do today to ensure our world is a better place tomorrow? Last fall, when I decided to throw my name in the hat to run for the municipal election. Now, ironically, this was always on my list to do, but I was going to do it when I was older. And then it suddenly occurred to me that the time was now. You flip over 50 and you realize the time has happened. I contacted one of my sons, Andy's, one of his best friends, Caleb, who was a 4th-year poli-sci student, and asked him would he help me out. What a gift to be surrounded by his youthfulness, his energy, and his knowledge. We often joke during the campaign season that if I was successful, he could put it on his resume as campaign manager, big and bold. And maybe if I wasn't, he'd just use a bit smaller font. Probably like most of you, Spectrum School looks a little bit different today. In fact, this wing wasn't even built when I attended. Thankfully, some of the teachers are still here today, and if not present physically, their legacy remains. This is where the warm and fuzzy feeling of Spectrum is always felt, and I particularly chose my jewelry tonight with this warm and fuzzy around my neck. And ironically, while I was waiting to be zoomed in, one side says responsible, and the other side reads hope. I thought those were perfect for me, and I am very grateful for this warm and fuzzy. As class valedictorian of 1989, Phil Watt guided me through the process, and he reminded me to talk to my fellow grads about the future opportunities that they will have. Talk to the choices that they'll be presented, and to stay connected to Spectrum. There is always someone to talk to at Spectrum School. And on a side note, as summer drew near after my graduation year, I wanted to continue my educational goals, but I had no idea of the first steps. My parents were hands-on workers, my dad in the trades, and my mom was a homemaker and an office worker. Ironically, my dad told me, and I hope you're listening to this, Dad, he said, Mena, why don't you get a job at the Bay or become a politician? Now that's funny to me. I can't hear if you're laughing, but I laugh now because my dad also would often say, you don't listen to me. Well, I guess I finally did. It was Mr. Watt that took me down to Lansdowne, Wilson on the Friday before Labor Day weekend, where we met with a guidance counselor who helped me get ready for my first semester. I had a check in my hand from my grandmother Marge and my passport receipt. I wanted to go to school. Now, Mr. Watt didn't stop there. He reached out to me again last fall when he learned that I was running for counselor and offered to help me. These are connections from teachers that genuinely care, and I'm so grateful. These teachers left a positive impact. They cared, and their days definitely did not end at 3 p.m. They taught me how to care for the next generation, and they continue to do so through the Alumni Association. I am fortunate to have a long list of Spectrum teachers that made an impact on my life. I'm not going to attempt to list them all in fear of missing one, but some of them are here tonight, Mr. Beckers, Mr. House, Mr. Dulett. I'm so grateful. 1989 does seem like a lifetime ago, and for me it is. Lives have been lost in this time. We have all heard and probably say many of these cliche lines. Don't blink, you'll miss it. Where does the time go? Enjoy every minute. When I pushed the stroller for 10 plus years, I would hear, they grow up so fast, enjoy every minute. Now I'm the one saying this to the parent pushing the stroller. As I celebrate wellness on a daily basis, I've adopted a few new lines. Push yourself to the point that being uncomfortable becomes comfortable, so we can learn how strong we can really be. Don't wait for tomorrow if you can do it today. Don't just reach for the stars, bend your knees, engage your core, and jump as high as you can. And always, always stop to say hello. Don't walk away, walk towards me. I do not take any of my successes or accomplishments for granted. I am forever grateful to have been surrounded by others that believed in me, supported me, and fostered the way, many which instill these values right here at Spectrum Community High School. My home is this beautiful community we call Saanich. Spectrum School was instrumental in my upbringing. My home is full of familiar faces, friends, and families, and my roots go deep. I'm grateful to have had numerous opportunities to serve in leadership roles, and I am committed to continuing to serve others during my time in hopes of making this world a better place. I want to end by sharing a little piece of my dedication that I wrote at the end of my thesis. And it is somewhat specific to my voice, but I think everyone will get the gist of my address. I was raised in a rink. This environment, typically a very loud space, continues to be my place of solace. My first performance, my first job, and where I met my husband of 31 years. Finding my way, finding my calling has been a process, but I did not do this alone. I asked for help. I did not stop when I thought I was stuck. I tried again. I did not fear when I was lost. I took a deep breath and I trusted. To my boys, to everyone, the world awaits your gifts. My wish for everybody is that each of us finds our arena that brings us peace, so we can open our gifts and share them with the world. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Spectrum, for this amazing and honestly heartwarming acknowledgement. I wish I could be, this is where Mena gets emotional, Ron listens to me. I wish I could be there in person to hug you each, but that'll be in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mena. Mena Ruffalo, as I knew her. So we've come to the end of the evening. and it has been an amazing evening. I would like to acknowledge and thank the Alumni Committee, namely Karen Turner, Alan Clark, Judy Harrison, Bruce Bidney, Tom Somner, Rob House, and finally Dave Goosen, our chair, who's very likely having breakfast in Paris at the moment. He could not be here tonight. Anyways, we're going to end with the 50-50 draw, or actually, I should mention a special thanks to our sponsors who sponsored us for the door prizes, and to Mike Miller. Also to Renee Schwartz and his students for their technical support tonight. Everything went beautifully. And before we close, so Rob, can I get you to come up and we'll draw the 50-50 draw? Is that going to happen?
Just mention Dave's name first thing right now. No.
Oh.
I better come and explain.
Okay, you got some explaining to do, Mr. House.
Yeah, so he mentioned Dave Goosen a moment ago, our president, who unfortunately couldn't be here. Unfortunately, he's in Paris. He's our technical guy and our webmaster, and he's the guy that sets all this stuff up. And I thought hey, I did the tap today. I was selling you folks beer and wine, and I got that all down perfect. Learned how to use the square. And I thought, well, I'm doing everything that the raffle thing told me to do. I can see all your orders. I just can't seem to. It's not doing what it's supposed to do. The thing is not populating properly. I hate this technology. So I can see all of your orders. I obviously have not done something correctly. It does say that the raffle has ended. Again, I can see all your orders. I just need to figure out how to generate the
Okay, Rob, we got it.
Yes. My apologies. I'm sorry. Anyway, I will look after this. I have your contact info, and I do promise I won't make myself the winner, but one of you will be a winner. So.
All right, we believe you, Rob. Okay. And to end with, I must thank Sharon Gateman for being my right-hand person here on the committee. She's always looking after me. Has been since about 1990, something like that. Thanks, Sharon. So you'll get the door prize winners to come up and claim your prize from Sharon in a minute. And I'm wondering if the honorees wouldn't mind coming down for a quick photo op with my daughter Michelle in the front of the stage here. And also, don't forget that there's lots of food out there to eat and to schmooze with people and have another drink or whatever. Anyways, thank you for coming out and supporting the Alumni Committee this evening. Thank you and good night.
She came into my class on Wednesday to talk to my grandfather, so it was like Thank you for staying
I didn't see you. Great to see you. I missed you I'm so sorry, but I do. I believe